This is Courage Barbell, and I'm your host, Chad Ikes. Need you guys to subscribe to this channel, comment on this channel, share this channel, hit the alert button on this channel so you know when I'm putting new videos up. All right, guys, I posted a video not too long ago titled, Where's Your Head At? And I was talking a lot about the neutral position of the head and how important it is to lock the head into this whole cylinder. A squat and a deadlift are basically hinge hips. Hinge hips. Yeah, hip hinges. Hip hinges where really your body should only move at the hips and the knees. And everything else needs to be locked in. But a lot of people tend to think locking their low back in, they tend to think of the brace just as the midsection. Well, it actually encapsulates the whole spine. And if your head isn't locked in, that's going to tend to release the upper back. That's going to tend to just create the snowball effect. So, where your head is important too. And after that video, I got to thinking about it. And again, I try to help as many people on social media as I can. And I had a couple questions and stuff. So I thought I would make a little additional video to that one. And what I want to talk about this one is one of the many bad habits that are still coached, that I actually got coached when I was a young kid, and it's wrong, and it's wrong. It's still wrong all these years later. But for some reason, people continue to coach this. And the cue I'm talking about is finding a focal point up on a wall or the building you're squatting in and focusing on that one focal point. So what you got to think of is if I have a hip hinge, okay, if I'm hinging at my hips for my squat or my deadlift, if I'm hinging at the hips, that means my whole upper torso is moving. If I'm fixed right here, as my torso hinges, I'm unlocking my cervical spine, which is affecting my thoracic spine, which is affecting my lumbar spine. Because remember, when you brace, part of bracing is stacking your spine. So, I want to try to get rid of that cue. You shouldn't actually be focusing on anything. You should be picturing in your mind's eye the lift that you're doing. Like somebody should be able to walk in front of you when you're squatting and you don't even know that somebody walked in front of you if you're focused where you need to be. But that's a whole different video. Right now, I want to talk about your field of view. So, if I use this stick as my squat bar, and I get in my stance, and I lock everything in where it's supposed to be, and now I've got my head back in neutral, and I'm going to go up just a little bit, and that's my neutral head position. So now, as I squat, and I'll get my brace, as I squat, my vision, my sight of vision is actually going to change throughout the lift. Okay? So to break this down a little smaller, say we're doing a good morning, which the beginning of a squat is a good morning. If I'm doing a good morning and I'm locked and my head's in position, as I bend, my line of vision, looking out here, if this is my line of vision, if I'm looking at a 90-degree angle, that's got to change as I go through this. And that's the same with the squat, and it's even the same with the deadlift. The deadlift's a little bit different depending on how your initial setup is. But still, once you start to pull, this whole spine has to be stacked in its neutral position. And it needs to stay that way. Like in a good, proper squat, there is almost no movement in the back at all. Like it should be very minimal. Some people have a little low back movement at the bottom, usually due to flexibility. But basically, everything should be the same. So, when I'm under this bar and I'm locked in, everything from here, everything from my hip, the greater trochanter, everything from the greater trochanter up to my head should basically not move at all. So here to here, it hinges at this point, but nothing else moves. If your shoulders are moving, if your elbows are moving, if they're moving this way, all of that is bad. If your head is going, that's bad. If I'm here and I'm locked in my back, and I go down like this, and then I go, you're going to see that all this behind here, all this upper back, is going to naturally loosen up a little bit. So start working on this. And again, warm-ups are a perfect time to work on these disciplines. A lot of people just get in their warm-ups and I'm just pumping blood, I'm just warming up my muscles. No, this is the perfect opportunity to work on these techniques. Because every time you do a movement wrong, you're making it harder and harder and harder to build the neural pathways to make that a habit. So if you're like, oh, well, I focus when it gets heavy. How many reps did you do in your warm-up compared to the reps that you did heavy? My guess is your heavy reps were a lot less than your warm-ups. So throughout that whole session, you did more reps with shitty technique than good technique. And I'm a big proponent of technique. So give this a try. See how much harder your upper back gets locked in when you actually pin that head in that neutral position and keep it in that neutral position. Stop finding a point and focusing on it. All right, guys. Like everything I coach on here, give it a try. It might not work the very first time. I'm thinking with this, you're going to see some benefits the very first time. But if you give it a little bit of work, I guarantee you're going to see results from everything I tell you, even though it may not always be instant. I'm out of here. See you guys next time.